these weeks in the winter are observed by many in observant circles as a special time known as the days of Shovavim. Shovavim, the letters of the Parshas we read, Shemos, Vayera, Bo, Beshalach, Yisro, and Mishpatim. And the word Shovavim itself happens to coincide with the words of the verse, Shuvu Vanim Shovavim. Shovavim are delinquents. These are weeks for tshuva. One aspect of tshuva, what's called kedusha. Kedusha, holiness. For those of you that are familiar with Rav Noah Zechar Levracha's bofu sticks. It's one of those words that's thrown around, holiness, spiritual, kedusha. What does it mean? I remember as a kid, the first time I saw an English translation of a siddur, and they translated the kedusha, holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. And I thought that came out of a church. What does this mean? You know, all these spiritual things where the only thing we can say about them is you can't see it. There doesn't seem to be anything real about it. And I guess you can put into it anything you imagine as being special. And everyone's got its own flavor. And it's fuzzy and touchy-feely. The Rambam gives us a very clear definition of what Kedusha is. What does it mean to be holy? A holy person I hope I won't be disappointing you. A holy person is one who identifies with his intellect over his instinct. Sounds too cold, huh? Do you know what makes it intense and passionate? The struggle. Not the concept. The struggle. Face it. Face it. We live with our five senses. Everything we experience, what's concrete about it, is something that our senses relate to. Our senses do not contain any element of intellect. It's all instinct. Our instincts are so much more close to us, close to home. We identify with them so much because we can see them, they're real. Intellect, ideas. Yeah, the idea of being academic, sort of detached from real life. The process of using your brains, of really using your brains, to the point that you get it, and realize that what you feel like doing instinctively is destructive, and that life is so much more rewarding and enjoyable if you only use your brains. Process that calls for so much toil, emotional toil. It's passionate. And that's where you become holy. Of course, when we talk about holiness in heaven, what we mean is that there's no instinct up there. It's all wisdom. It's down here that this world is so blinding and confusing. And here it's real toil. So why these weeks? The mitzvah of reading from the Torah every week was something that was established by none other than Moshe Rabbeinu himself. However, there were various customs as to how much to read every week and how long this cycle would be. How many years, perhaps, would it take to finish the entire Torah? Some for 3 years. Until when the Gemara was written down, it was established that it was going to be a 1-year cycle culminating on Simchas Torah. And of course, beginning again on Simchas Torah. We understand that in the days of the Gemara, they did not just get together and establish a religious structure that was practical. Every detail was weighed out. There are no coincidences there. Every detail was worked through. If the weeks that we are collectively, the entire Jewish nation, to study, beginning with Shemos, which is the Egyptian experience, our enslavement in Egypt, going through Ve'era, Bo, Beshalach, our miraculous delivery from Egypt, and then Yisro, standing at the foot of Mount Sinai, attaining prophecy and hearing divine wisdom, and accepting upon ourselves to live that way. And Mishpatim, the actual content, and primarily that of Bein Adam L'Chavero, the fact that the way you live within society, your obligations within society are divine. They're not a matter of taste. There's absolute truth in the right way to live. All of that, which means taking the Jewish nation from the people they were and transforming them into a nation of prophets who live by divine wisdom. That process is the process that we call Kedusha, becoming holy. Taking a people and transforming them into prophets and giving them a way of life. On leap years, when there's an extra month, so there are another 2 weeks added, Teruma and Tetzav, and those are the weeks where we read about the building of the Mishkan, as well as the Big Day Kahuna, which means the next step in Kedusha is that we provide a place for the Shekhinah, the divine presence, to actually dwell among us. This is a process. We went from normal human beings all the way to people who can host Hashem. How did it begin? It begins with enslavement. What was the need for enslavement? This seems to be the first step in being able to identify with your intellect over your instinct. And that is giving you a negative experience. instinctively, meaning with regard to your instincts. There are those who claim that the entire Jewish nation, both by history as well as by commandment, is post-trauma. We always walk around, whether we want to or not, we are commanded to remember our experience in Egypt. We have a mitzvah on a daily basis, as well as, of course, the Seder, where we retell the entire story. And if you leave out the enslavement and torture, you haven't fulfilled your requirement. If you just talk about the miracles at the Seder, you haven't done the job. Every Jew walks around knowing that at some point in time, our nation was tortured, dehumanized. Dehumanized. If you read the details, avodas perech. So simple translation is work that is breaking, difficult labor. But the way it's translated in Torah Sheval Peh, avodas perech, whatever they built was not really fit to be able to survive, which means everything they built was built on land that was not suited for it, so it would collapse. Not only were they working and working and working, but they could not even enjoy the satisfaction of seeing the fruit of their labor. Forced labor, oh, it's awful, but at least you get to see something at the end of it. To work, 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 and then watch the building collapse. I mean, that is so cruel. It is so cruel. And the verse says, Kol avodah basadeh, and the Ramban explains that meant that every Egyptian can grab a Jew on his way out of work, on his way back from pyramid building perhaps, and have him do whatever he wanted to. And they would give them all these demeaning jobs. They tried to dehumanize the Jewish nation. We had no life. Absolutely everything that is part and parcel of normal life we were deprived of. At least to weaken our connection. Weaken our connection to the world of instinct and be open to something bigger and better. What it was replaced with? Miracles, a miraculous existence. But miracles that didn't just save us, above all, they made Hashem's presence in the world and divine providence obvious to us. Till we sang Zeh Keli V'Anveyu, we were able to point to Hashem when the sea split and said, this is Him, to give it clarity. For everybody. So long as we were just so totally involved in serving our instincts, that's all we see, that's all we identify with. Go try and talk reason. Go try and make sense to people whose goals in life are all material. For people whose goals in life involve everything instinctive, whether it's physical or emotional, and try to reason with them. There's nobody home. You got to move away a little bit. You got to move away a little bit. We have to be able to get your attention. And that's what yeshivas are all about. You pull someone out of his environment, or as the Rambam puts it, go into the desert. You pull someone out of his environment to a place that is dedicated to people using their brains. Now they're capable of hearing something. Now they're capable of thinking. What's most important is to make use of your time here, to develop the habit of identifying with your brain, Sure, you can enjoy the good life. You can enjoy the food. You can enjoy everything this world has to offer. But that's not what you live for. That's not what's going to energize you. That's not why God created the Jewish nation with all of its talent and passion. We have the ability for things that are so much greater. So when you're fortunate and you find yourself on the other side, you find yourself in the Beis Medrash, and then you look back at the world out there, and you tell yourself, poor souls, these poor things, spend a lifetime doing what? Doing what? What will they have to say for themselves when it's all over? Judaism has so much to give them. If Jews would only realize they're sitting on a gold mine and they're eating junk food. If Jews would only realize it. Anyone that's been enlightened, if you feel it when you've gotten to the point that it's sunk in, you want to share this. You want to liberate every Jew from the chains, the bonds of his instinct, and introduce him to that brain he's got. Introduce him to his common sense. Get his attention so he can ask himself basic questions like, what do you live for? What are your goals? Is it worth it? Life is not easy for anybody. Why do you struggle? What's it for? What are your priorities? Just to be able to ask them the most simple questions. So be holy. Get it here. Get it here. Identify with your brain. Feel the joy of common sense. Feel the joy of that penetrating, simple truth. Get your priorities straight. What do you invest in? What do you invest in? What do you put all of your efforts into? Power, money, fame. Your family, values, your community, your nation. What's more rewarding? What'll make you alive? Soak it all in. Come out of here a changed person. And spread the word. Spread the word. When we do arrive at the foot of Mount Sinai, Hashem describes what he wants us to become. Mamleches Kohanim v'goy kadosh. What are we? A kingdom of priests, a kingdom of ambassadors of holiness, a holy nation. There's another term used for the Jewish nation, Am Chacham v'Navon, the wise understanding nation. It's one and the same. It's one and the same. People run by their instincts, do the most ridiculous things. They destroy themselves. They jeopardize their reputations. They jeopardize their standing in every way. They ruined their marriages, their families. If only they'd use their brains. Was it worth it? Was it worth it to make yourself the laughingstock of humanity? It was worth it. It's that great. The insanity, the absolute insanity that instincts present and sort of take us over with can be so easily diffused if you only use your brain and get into the habit of identifying with your common sense. That's what holiness is. This is the time for it. Make the most of it and spread the good word. And let's really be that Mamleches Kohanim V'Goy Kadosh.